There's no one in your life that is going to have a greater interest in your future, your success, your happiness, your joy, your fulfillment than your mom and dad. And not everyone has that, and I get that. But when you have a parent or parents that not only care to the ends of the earth for you, but also have made it, have done it, that is the perfect role model. Because you're never going to get anyone that cares more, and your dad has done it.
A leader has to take the risks. Mr. Michael, how you doing, buddy? What's going on, man? Long time no see. How's everything?
I have to tell you, I wasn't sure whether I should do this on my lounger on the beach, drinking a margarita, or if I should do this in my office. And I just, it's on the beach, wealth on the beach. I'm in Florida. That's what it's all about.
There you go, man. Good old Florida. What part of Florida?
I'm in Boca Raton.
Love it. One of my favorite places ever.
Really?
So yeah, no, I love Boca. I love Florida. I mean, Florida's, one of my favorite places in the world. Politics are good. And the weather's good, and the people are good. So I love it.
Are you out in California?
I'm in Newport Beach, California. Yeah.
Okay, another beautiful place. I was just out in LA right before the the Oscars or the big awards ceremony the day before, and I was at a really cool event called Gold Meets Golden. Have you heard of that before?
No.
Olympic athletes, gold medalists, meet up with top actors and actresses in this 3/4 of a day event, and it's for a charity that supports kids that want to participate in sports but have disabilities. So I met this guy at the airport. We were both getting a back massage. I was coming back from a speech, and we had time. So he was leaving, and I have a really interesting business card. And he commented, and I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "I work with the Olympics in some way." He's out in at the film festival now, or the awards, and the Olympics and the awards. He's out there for 2 months. But anyway, I went to the event, and I got to see Nadia Comaneci and some other great athletes. Scott Hamilton. I got to have a great time with him, and he's a great guy. And I got to meet the female ice skater going back, her and her daughter going back a ways. That was wonderful. Christy Yamaguchi.
Oh, wow, man. Wow. So how do you get involved? Like, have you always been involved? Like, charity events and different events through the years? Have you always been connected like that?
It's just, my wife says I could talk to a tree. I just talk to everybody, and I take an interest in what they do and why they do it, whether from the Uber driver to the landscaper, all the way up to, I'm sitting in an elevator in my hotel in Hollywood the night before this big event, and I see this woman come on. I say, she looks familiar, and she's an iconic, and I'm going to think of her name during this podcast, iconic movie actress. She was married to, I'm trying to remember her name, older lady now, a lot of romantic comedies, and Woody Allen. She was married to Woody Allen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So anyway, she was there, and I do magic. So I went to their table and I did magic for her and her son, and that was a great experience. And I talked to everybody, and everyone, it's a 6 degrees, so everyone's connected in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. So is this how you sold a lot of copiers back in the old days?
Well, that was a journey in itself. It didn't matter whether it was copiers or widgets. I just kind of applied for a job and I got it, and that's when it all started.
So tell me about that story. Like, how did it all start for you, and going into sales and doing, creating, everything that you've been able to create over your life? I mean, where did it all start?
Well, I was kind of a hustler. I was a hustler when I was young. So I think, when companies hire salespeople, I always tell them, I said, it doesn't really matter how much they know about your product, your service, your industry. Do they have fire in their belly? Are they hungry? And, you and I hear that all the time. And if you're hungry enough, if your why is big enough, which drives the hunger, you'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. And it's that do whatever it takes, that hunger, that why that drives. And a buddy, a person I coach, an executive that I coach, and I coach some of his team members. They say you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But I think it's our job as coaches to make them hungry, make them thirsty. So if you can bring a horse to water, you can't make them drink. I agree. But if you trigger the right things inside their heart and their soul, you can maybe connect to something that could fire them up. It could be a life event, or maybe you can create an anticipated life event that will happen that's painful or pleasurable if you don't trigger that. So getting back to your question, as a teenager, I would watch and wax cars. I would shovel snow. I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey. So I was always hustling, always grinding, making money. And to this day, I had a partner, Jesse Leppendorf, when I was 16 years old. We go door to door, knock on doors and say, how would you like your car to look like your neighbor's? And we're down the seashore, so you have oxidation. You want to protect your car, right? And here we are. We had a little red wagon, literally, that we pull our supplies along, and we would make back, 50 years ago, we make $100 each a day. We would work from sunrise to sundown, and just nonstop, six cars a day, 7 cars a day, just nonstop, grind it out. And it allowed me to help my mother with some certain things financially, and I think giving back is critically important. So, but I really got a taste of hustling and getting out there and making it happen, and that's kind of where it started. And I'm selling shoes.
$100 a day, man. Back then, that was a lot of money, man.
Huge money.
You were buying a lot of ice creams back then.
Yeah, we were really cranking it. And my start I was selling shoes for a department store called Steinbeck's Department Store in Northfield. And someone would say, can I see shoes? And I wouldn't bring them out 2 pair. I'd bring out like 10 pair, 5 in each hand. And I said, what do you think of these? And just over deliver, know what someone needs and over deliver it and create an experience. I tell people you don't want customers, you want zealots, ambassadors, and raving fans. And how do you do that? You over deliver, understand what their needs are, and give them more than what they expect. And I would do that. And I remember the moment. There's a woman who worked in the cosmetic center. Starbucks was like a Macy's, and her name was Brooke. Very tall. She looked like she's an African-American woman who looked like a model on a runway, beautiful woman. And her name was Brooke. And I said, Brooke, I applied for a job at this company called Shift Charney to sell copiers. It's going to be my first professional sales job. And I just prayed to God, I get this. And this is going to be the start of the rest of my life, of my professional selling career. And this has never happened to me before. And by the way, you prefer Daniel over Dan, or does it not matter?
Yeah, Daniel's fine.
So Daniel, I had a dream. I applied for this job, and the night before they were going to call me, this is never happened before or after. I had a dream that the person who interviewed me, Earl Nellius, this is going back, I was 21, I'm 67 now. I remember when he interviewed me, and he said, I'll call you tomorrow with our decision. The president was there, John Keenan. And I had a dream the night before that they called me and said, Mike, it was really close between you and one other candidate. And I have to tell you, Mike, we liked you a lot, but the other candidate had more sales experience. You were kind of met behind the ears. So we have to pass this time, and we're going to go with him. And as soon as that dream was over, the phone rang, and it was Earl Nellius. I'm thinking to myself, why is he calling me back? And he goes through the same explanation I had in my dream. Weirdest thing in the world. Like I said, never happened before or after. But the outcome was different. He said, we consider you, I'll never forget his words, over 40 years ago, he said, we consider you a diamond in the rough, and you're hired.
Very cool. Very cool.
Job started everything, and I got fired from that job because they thought I was doing something that I wasn't. But thank goodness, because that's when I started my own company, and that's a whole nother story. But I'll let you jump in.
So now when you think about hustling, and you were definitely a different breed of human, I think. I mean, I think me and you probably cut from the same cloth. I mean, we just, for some reason, we wanted to make money. I mean, when I was, I don't know, 16, 17 years old, I remember sending like $300, which this was so much money to me at the time, but $300 to buy this kit. And it was like, so I could sell something. It was like a product. It was called Child Shield. And it was like, if your kid ever got lost, then, they would come out with these big campaigns or whatever. I don't know. I just, all I know is I tried to sell this thing. I wasn't successful at it at all, but I was just always trying to make money. I was always trying to, to do better. I wanted a better life. And so do you think that now these days there's less of that or more of that? Or, what's your thoughts about like the culture today versus 50?
And I think from the executives that I coach, and I speak from my own perspective, but also from the perspective of other business owners, which is obviously important to broaden your perspective, because we only see the world through our lens, through our experiences, and then through those perceptions, we create our opinions and make our decisions. But through some executives that have multi-$100 million companies, and they share with me the challenges as well as the opportunities, I think there has been a shift. And when you look at the different generations, the X generation, the Y generation, the baby boomers that I fit in that category, when you look at them, and I want to know if you share the same from what you experience and what others, I think there's kind of a sense of, when I was growing up, it's like I had to constantly prove myself, and I had to constantly hustle, and I had to be accountable, and I had certain goals, and I was pushed, and I had to meet those obligations, those commitments. And today, especially with an impact of COVID, where things shifted even further with that generation, I think, I don't say a sense of entitlement, but more a sense of, hey, listen, we're equal here. I deserve what I deserve, and you're the company and I'm me. And I think where before it used to be, you're working for me, I'm paying you. If you do a great job, you get paid great. If you're in sales, if you do an average job, you get paid average, commensurate with the effort you put in and the results that you achieve, that's what you'll get. I think today there's a little sense of, no, I want more time off. I want to do it, work remote. And I think I don't think that's really good for business. I really, maybe I'm old fashioned. That could be also, I grew up a certain way, and that's kind of what I adopt today. Even when I coach my clients, I said, these are the standards from which you're working for my company. This is what our expectations are. This is the commitment that we expect. This is the work ethic. These are the results that we expect. And we're going to coach you and help you do that. But if you don't do that, if you choose not to do that, then you're saying you don't want to be part of the company. And that's
but now you can't fire people, man. You fire people, it's just immediately there's a lawsuit. Immediately they're going to try to find something that you did wrong to create this, this now, lawsuit, and everybody's suing everybody like crazy. And it's wild to me that, again, I think it just has to do with that sense of entitlement. And it's also a lack of standards. I mean, and again, I'm a little bit different in age from you, but I mean, the truth is that I think like you. So I don't really think you're old fashioned. I just think that in life, if you're in business, especially if you're in business or in sales and you're an entrepreneur, I mean, you got to have some standards. And if you're an employee of a company, you should have some standards. You should follow direction. You should follow what they're telling you to do, and you should just execute what they're telling you to do. I mean, they're paying you a paycheck, for God's sakes. They're paying for your benefits. They're paying for all this stuff. You should follow the direction. And again, if you're in business by yourself and you have a coach like you, or have somebody that's giving them the guidance, well, I mean, dang it, follow the guidance. I mean, we're not telling you stuff just to tell it to you. It's only because we're telling you from experience.
To help you.
And that's just to help you. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I'll just throw this in real quick, but my son, he's 22 and he's finally coming into business with me. He finally just woke up one day and he's like, all right, I get it. All right. The light bulb went on. Dad's got a pretty large organization. One day this could be mine, why not? I mean, shit, if my dad had a business that I could take over one day, I'd be hustling in that shit. So I could, because that's a big leg up, right? I mean, it's a big, advantage that we didn't have. Nobody gave me anything, right? I mean, but what a big advantage. But he's starting to get it. And it's really fun because now I'm like, I'm coaching him, I'm trying to be, fair with him. I'm not trying to blow him up every day, but I'm also, yesterday I was talking to him and I said, look, you got to get this, because if you don't get it, if you don't really morning, noon, and night, master your scripts, master your craft, like get this shit down. Nobody's going to follow you. And I said, you especially, you're going to probably have to work a little bit harder than everybody else, because everybody's going to, they're going to be looking at you like you're just dad's little kid, so exactly. You're going to have to step it up even, further, so give my son Max some advice for his future. All right, Mike, give him some advice. So when he watches this, you're like, hey, Max, all right, man, this is from the old school here, man. This is some great, sales information, leadership, accountability, whatever how you want to coach him in the next, 3 minutes. Give him your best.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you right now, my focus is coaching young adults. So I coach sons and daughters 20 to 27. So and I prefer that even over the executives, because the amount of knowledge, the amount of things they don't know, we don't know our blind spots. So this is what I'd say, Max, and anyone else listening to this that is not a Max but wants to be successful, I would say this: Max, you're destined to be successful for 2 reasons. One is your name is Max, not minimal. So you have to take it to the max. Number 2 is, although it's challenging, don't listen to a parent. I call it the parent-teacher syndrome. I get that. There's never going to be anyone in your life that cares more about you, your success, and your future than your dad or your mom. So no one. I mean, that's the reality. Some aren't born with that, and I get that. But those that are understand that what we say is only for your best interest. And when you have someone that can back it up with proven business acumen and experience, that's it. So here's what I say. First, listen to your dad, because he only has your best interests at heart, and he's done it. You always want to model someone who's done it. Hey, Max, so here's the advice I would give you. There's no one in your life that is going to have a greater interest in your future, your success, your happiness, your joy, your fulfillment than your mom and dad. And not everyone has that, and I get that. But when you have a parent or parents that not only care to the ends of the earth for you, but also have made it, have done it, that is the perfect role model. Because you're never going to get anyone that cares more, and your dad has done it. And if you watch from sports, those athletes that are the very best, the veterans, they become all pros. You see the rookie connected with the all pro. What that does is called an accelerator. It will accelerate your success and minimize your mistakes. I promise you, along the way, this is for everyone, but especially you, Max, everyone is going to have roadblocks, obstacles, and challenges. Life is not a straight line, and it's certainly not an upward line. In fact, it's always going to be a challenge. There's always going to be things that get in your way. So if I were going to give you any advice, and there's lots to give, believe me, it's a podcast is not enough time, but first, believe in yourself. Believe you can do it. Beliefs are where everything starts. Have a growth mindset. A growth mindset means that my DNA, my genetics don't determine how good I'll be at something and how successful I'll be. What determines that is the time, effort, and energy you put into something with the right blueprint, meaning you're following the right path. Because you can put time, energy, and effort in the wrong blueprint and make it go down a rabbit hole and be in the wrong place faster. So if you align yourself with people that are smarter than you, better than you, more talented than you, and you work your butt off, these are the, I don't even call them secrets anymore. They're out there. Okay, so a belief that you can. Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Believe that you can. Number 1, no self-limiting beliefs, because they are self-limiting. You made them. You gave meaning to something that really has no meaning. Believe you can do it, number 1. Number 2, growth mindset. Put the time, energy, and effort. Be persistent and resilient. Mm-hmm. Follow a leader, someone who's already done it, okay? And that persistence and resilience, understand there's going to be roadblocks. It's your ability to pick yourself up. You don't succeed or fail. You succeed or learn. And believe me, your dad, me, everyone. I've made millions and I've lost millions. So a journey to the top is all uphill. The elevator to success is broken. You got to take the stairs. And sometimes there's going to be problems, okay?
I love it. I love it.
Understand that. And at the end of the day, you just grind it out. Follow someone who's done it. That will be an accelerator, and it will help you avoid some, never all, some of the roadblocks and obstacles along the way. Wise people learn from their own mistakes. Wiser people learn from the mistakes of others. You now have an opportunity for your dad to say to you, don't do this, because this is typically what's going to happen if you do. But if you do this is going to be an accelerator. It's going to be coal or butane on the fire. So it's going to accelerate your success. And all you want to do is accelerate and maximize your success. and get clear on what that looks like. And I would say this as a final comment. I learned this from my friend Gerhard Schwantner, the founder of Selling Power Magazine. We're not human doings. We're human beings. So you have to be more before you do more, before you have more. So I want you to understand that order. That's critical. We're human beings, not human doings. We have to be more. What does that look like and sound like? We have to, in order to have more. So be more in order to do more, in order to have more. So the be more, that's the growth mindset. Are you investing time every day in getting better? Reading books or listening to books, as I do with Audible, every day. Top billionaires in the world, Oprah Winfrey, Warren Buffett. I mean, you can go down the line, Jeff Bezos, they all read every day, and they credit that to their success. They're constantly searching and learning the next best thing on how to advance their life, personally and professionally. So you need to do that every day. I'm on that journey upward.
I love it, man. Awesome. 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 Thank you so much for that. You have no idea how much I appreciate that. I mean, you've been through highs, you've been through lows, man. What can you share with us? Maybe, one of those moments where you felt like you were at the lowest. I mean, was there ever a time where you felt like, oh shit, man, I mean, this is just lost millions. I've had failures. I've had, bad times. Share with all of us, small entrepreneurs, where that was and what that looked like for you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It was yesterday at 3:00. No, it's. I would say this: you're always going to have moments, sometimes hours, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months of doubt, where you don't have the confidence. I have a couple of podcast shows, also, Daniel, and I have some rock stars. I just had an undrafted 10-year veteran of the NFL. And when you're reaching that pinnacle of success, the best of the best of the best, the top 1%, you say, well, what advice would you have? And he said, confidence. And then the question is, as I always do as a coach, I reverse engineer that. Well, how do you get confidence? Well, you get confidence in a few ways. Success breeds confidence. Take little baby steps and be successful at those baby steps and then bigger steps. So I would say, in my down moments, and I don't remember one, even when I filed bankruptcy, actually that was kind of a good thing because I got rid of a lot of debt, and it was legal. I didn't have to screw anyone, but it allowed me, and I believe in serving and giving back. But you doubt yourself sometimes, and you doubt the confidence that, I was a millionaire before I was 30, and then in my late 40s, early 50s, I invested in other businesses that were mine, and I lost millions. And there's no better investment, I believe, than yourself. And things don't always work out. Henry Ford went bankrupt 3 times. Who knows that? Babe Ruth struck out more than any other baseball player during his era and had the most home runs. Michael Jordan missed more last-second shots than anyone else. I mean, the list goes on, how many people failed and what goes on in their head. Well, I'll tell you a few things you got to do. One is we are a culmination of all our thoughts. So first is thoughts are things. Thoughts are real. And we have 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day in our head, every day. That's 3 full-length movies running through this up here. Every emotion you have, every decision you make, every action you take is based on a thought. It starts with a thought. And of those 50 to 70,000 thoughts, 65% of which, through studies, are negative. And from a negative thought comes a negative emotion, action or lack of action. You don't take an action, cold call, you're going up to someone you should because you're not confident. So I would suggest to you the first thing is be aware of your thoughts. And if they're negative, yell in a louder voice, get out or do something. Tony Robbins talks about change your physiology. Go and do something that breeds positivity. And the third thing is surround yourself with people that charge you. There's 2 types of people in the world. There's battery drainers and battery chargers. Okay? And just make sure that you are a battery charger in people's lives. Life is tough. Our batteries get drained, both from effort and failure. And we can't go this road alone, at least not as fast or as far. And an African proverb said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Remember, everyone achieves more when we do it together. That's team. Together, everyone achieves more. So remember,
Absolutely.
Surround yourself with people that charge your battery. You be that battery charger. Because during a downtime, I can't tell you how many people, my mom being my number one supporter, who encouraged me and supported me during a downtime and believed in me. When my belief was doubtful and my self-esteem was low, when you have people around you that don't blow smoke up your butt, but believe in you and say, listen, I know you have it in you. You can do this. Fight through it. It's just a tough time right now. Surround yourself with those people.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an incredible, important aspect of creating anything in your life is to have a bunch of people around you that really believe in you, like genuine believe in you. But I think where I got lucky is I had mentors that were willing to tell me the things that I needed to hear, not just what I wanted to hear.
That's
So
great.
they told me what I needed to do, what I had to do, what I must do versus just blowing smoke up my butt, and so I think that I got lucky in that sense, and also I do kind of feel like the timing was right for me in my life. I mean, 21 years old, I kind of started. I was a bad kid growing up, but I started in business at 21, turned my whole life around. And I went for it, So the question I have for you though is like, we're in this this economy right now, inflation's high and, so many people are struggling financially right now. It's like out of control. I mean, people are wanting to do better in their life more than ever. And so, what do you think? I mean, how much opportunity do you think there is right now? And why do you think there's so much opportunity to become successful in these kinds of times?
Yeah, great question. Remember, tough times when people are looking for solutions is when great opportunities appear to those that are entrepreneurial in spirit and in action. So remember, problems are what create products and solutions. Without a problem, we don't have solutions. So as Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich said, so everyone knows one of the top 3 books on everyone's list of that you should read in your life if you want to be successful, says within every challenge lies the seeds of equivalent or greater benefit. Within every challenge. So during an economic downturn, maybe you need to go after a different market. Maybe you need to be a little more creative. I think it was Einstein said that creativity was more important than intelligence. I mean, creative during this time, during tough times, challenging times, different times, it requires different thinking. Remember the definition of insanity. If you continue to think the way you've always thought and act the way you've always acted, you'll continue to get the same results you've always gotten. So changing times requires changing thinking. How do you go to market? What do you say? Who's your market? Did your market change? So all be creative if you haven't been creative, whether it's with financing or the way you present the customer, the way you get the customer to hear your pitch. So I would just say that during these times, there's vast opportunities. I'm reading a book right now, phenomenal book by Dan Kennedy, one of the greatest marketers of our era, along with Jay Abraham, about no BS marketing, selling to the elite. So I do coaching. I'm not I'm on the higher end of probably double, triple what most fees are in the coaching business. Obviously, I deliver value, and I don't charge more just to charge more. I deliver because they're going to get much more, I believe, with the coaching, and it's going to be not only game changing but life changing. But an average person can't afford me. So what that means is the market that I'm going after is the wealthy and the ultra wealthy. Not as a snob, and not that I do plenty of work for charity. So I'm out there every weekend after church doing stuff for charity. So I have nothing. In fact, that's where my heart really is. So, but what allows me to do that is doing work with the elite who can afford my services and want to buy my product, want to buy my coaching services for their children. Okay, that's the market that is ideal for me, and that's been a shift versus just doing coaching for businesses that may be struggling right now that really can't afford X number of thousands of dollars a month. So I would say, shift your thinking, be creative, be imaginative,
right,
and change your approach.
Yeah, and so when you think about, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I'm curious to know from your angle. What do you think about AI, and what do you think about so much technology change. I mean, think about it, man. I mean, I remember being at a telephone booth, calling the client, try to confirm, and or if I was going to be late, and I'd have to pull over, and I always had change in my little ashtray there, and I'd have to make sure. And then it went to like I had to have a beeper on all the time, and we'd have to figure out how to, and then we would try to do the numbers so they spelt letters, so you kind of do little codes, and then you had a beeper, and then we had these flip, big old cell phones and all this. So what's your thought, man, after all said and done, living in this era of massive change in technology? Because you've been in business for 50 years, so right. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I have a buddy in California who said this, and I love phrases that are easy to remember. Wouldn't it be funny if I forgot it now? Easy to remember, and that are alliterations or rhymes. Innovate, okay, or evaporate. Innovate or evaporate. One of my quotes is, the only constant is change. The only constant is change. Everything is constantly changing, evolving, being disruptive. And I'm involved in a business opportunity that's disruptive right now to the music industry. Totally disruptive, never been done before. First to market. You mentioned something earlier on that's a critical thing about when you started at 21, which is the age I started at, Daniel, and I've had over 100 podcast episodes. And like I said, spoken to Shark from Shark Tank, with some great people as you have on your show. And we gain great wisdom from those conversations that we have with these people, as well as our audiences do as well. And I remember a common theme, as they say, success leaves clues, and that is timing is everything. And you can be too early to the market, you can be too late to the market, but timing is everything. And you can try to predict that. Not always easy to do. Some companies have the best minds in the world. That's why they're speakers. Chris Barton was on my show, and he's the founder of the app for iTunes. I'll think of it in a second. But anyway, sold it for $400 million to Apple. And for 7 years, he was fighting, borrowing from friends and family and anyone he could. For 7 years, he was early to the market. And then finally, Apple came out with apps. And it was the apps that drove his business, and where it became a $400 million exit for him. So wow. It's all about timing, being at the right place, the right time, with the right people, the right message, whatever you want to call it. But that's also a critical part of success in businesses, and always a tough challenge here. So to answer your question about AI and all the changes that happen, I believe you adapt or die, innovate or evaporate. I mean, any way you want to slice it, Daniel. I use AI. I took a course with Stephen Kotler, who's the brilliant guy behind Flow Research. And I took a course in that early on. When I coach my clients as well as myself, I want to be up to date. This is the end game. What do you want? Why do you want it? Then you reverse engineer that and say, how can I do that most effectively and efficiently with greatest productivity? So those are the questions that need to be answered. And if technology is what you need to do that, either you learn it or you hire someone who does know it, who can implement it in your business. And I don't want to say it's simple. Great book. It's a 100-year-old book now that I read when I was 21, when we both started. It was by Fred Herman. Never read the book, but the title gave just gobs of meaning to life and business. And it said, selling is simple, in parentheses, but not easy. And I think life is simple, but not easy. I think there's a set of rules, Daniel, that if we all play by these rules, we'll have peace, joy, fulfillment, success, everything we want. To play by those rules in a world that's upside down, in beliefs that are sometimes created that we're not even aware of, that are limiting, I think it's not easy. And in fact, I know it's not easy. Life is not easy. Business is not easy. But it's simple. If you follow these rules, if you do, there's an answer to everything on AI or Google. The gap, and in fact, ASTD, American Society of Training and Development, not called ATD, did a study called the Knowing Doing Gap. The challenge, Thomas Huxley, the great historian, said, the great aim in life is not knowledge, but action. So just constantly take action. Change it up if it's not working. Persistent. Have a role model. Believe in yourself. And that's really what it is taking massive action, immersion, and then of course within all those things are your self-talk, habits, rituals, and routines, which we can get into that are, I'm a huge proponent of being in great shape mentally, physically, spiritually. I do some things that would blow people's mind at 67 physically because of the books that I read, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins and Atomic Habits by James Clear, that I break barriers that no one could break. And I'm not saying that to impress anyone, but to impress upon them the power of surrounding yourself with information that is empowering and makes you a better, stronger person. But you have to be strong, just like when you're flying on an airplane. And if you lose cabin pressure and you're with your son, and Max, let's say Max is a baby at 3. I'm sure you flew with him when he was a baby.
Right.
And they say if we lose oxygen pressure, a mask is going to come down. And they say, make sure if you're sitting with your child, you put it on yourself first.
Right.
Well, that's so counterintuitive for a parent who would give their life for their child. But why do they do that? Because you can't charge someone else's battery unless yours is charged first. You can't give what you don't have. So what does that look like when you reverse engineer that? You must be strong mentally, physically, and spiritually. And then what does it take to be strong mentally, physically, and spiritually? I believe in my Lord Jesus Christ. You don't have to. You can have your higher power. But whatever it is, have a higher power, because you're human and we're frail. So whatever your power is, have a power that you can go to in times that you don't have anything left in your reservoir, okay? And then physically, what are you doing to stay in shape physically? And then what are you doing to stay in shape mentally?
So what does that look like for you, man? I mean, are you like 5 days a week, 7 days a week working out? I mean, what does your diet consist of? I mean, what are you doing? Because I mean, that you're my role model here. I mean, I want to look like you when I'm 67 years old. And I know a lot of 67-year-olds. I know a lot of 70-year-olds and 80. And I'm telling you, man, I'm going for 120. I tell people all the time, I'm going for 120, and they think I'm crazy, but I believe it. Well, number one, I believe because of technology. I mean, technology is going to make us live longer. As long as you're not smoking and drinking and, doing drugs and shit like that. I mean, there's a lot of us that are going to live probably to 120. I wouldn't be surprised, as fast as technology is working right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting to 150, some of us. So just simply because of these times that we're living in. But, walk me through a little bit of your regimen and what do you feel that has helped you stay as healthy and vibrant as you are?
Well, great question. I was certainly hoping you would do that because I put a lot of emphasis with myself, my wife, and my clients on strong mind, body, spirit. That you can't give what you don't have. And a great Indian proverb says this: a healthy person has 1,000 wishes. A sick person has one. Everyone listening to this right now has a family member, a friend, a colleague, someone that is in dire straits in terms of their health. And they would give anything and everything to be healthy, especially if they're on death's bed. Health, in fact, my Peloton name is Health is Wealth. So that's what I believe. And I truly believe that. Now, listen, we have two things that work for us and against us. We have DNA, our genetics, and we have our nurture, what we do, the choices that we make, and the actions that we take in our lives. I take medications. I'm against medications. I take them because I got a crappy DNA. And I spoke to one of the top experts in the world, and I said, how much is DNA, genetics, percentage, and how much is, I'll let you take a shot at this, Daniel. I asked this question last night to some colleagues. And how much is nurture, what we have an impact, what we have over. What do you think the percentage is, nature versus nurture?
I bet you probably said 75% nature and 25% nurture. I'm guessing, but I don't know.
A lot of people guess that 50, what this expert said, and it's like anything in science, it changes every 10 years. But at the time when they said it, it was 50-50. And the expert who told me, who was on actually the president of the United States cabinet for this study, said that they like to believe that it's 49%, 51% nurture, and the 49% nature, because we like to believe that we have the final say in how we turn out. But I got news for you. My weight is ideal. my fat content, and I measure. You can't manage what you don't measure, so you have to know
Right.
where you're at. I get studies done on my fat, my visceral fat, which is bad fat. So I get all these things with cytogenics. All these things are studied to make sure I get blood work done every 3 months uh, to make sure that I'm going in the direction I want to go. But with that being said, uh, I take blood pressure. I have high blood pressure, and my body weight's fine. I get amped up. Yeah, that could raise the blood pressure. But even when I'm relaxed, I take it, and sometimes it's high. So I have to take medicine for that. And my heart rate, I got that down. That's like my average heart rate is like 60. Resting heart rate's like 52. I wear the Whoop watch. So the Whoop, that tells me it shows everything, REM sleep, regular sleep. So I'm monitoring. Again, if you can't
How
manage
many
it.
how many hours a night do you get sleep?
Well, that's the areas of improvement. That's my area of improvement.
There you
That's
go. There you go. Because sleep has got to be like one of the number one, variables that we got to all work on. And I tell people all the time, man, this is what these bags are under my eyes right here, man. It's the bags come from not getting that solid 8 hours. But I'll tell you though, this year, I mean, I think that I've probably been averaging 7.5 hours,
good.
maybe 7.5 hours of sleep every night. Some nights I'm getting that 8 hours. I'm really fighting and working hard to get the 8 hours a night. But do you follow Brian Johnson at all? Do you know anything about Brian Johnson?
I was gonna ask you about it. My son, who is 32, introduced me to Brian Johnson, who sold with the
Okay.
PayPal. Yeah, he told me about his
Venmo, like 800 million. So
yeah, yeah. When I talk about immersion and I talk about obsession, this guy, for those of you who don't know that are listening to this, is fully immersed. How many vitamins does he take a day, Daniel?
I think it's like 90 or something like that. Yeah. So, but
This,
I'm
this guy,
actually, yeah, he's nuts. But I'm actually doing his. I mean, I ordered his stuff, so I'm eating all the stuff that he eats in the morning. So my, what I'm eating every morning is in line. But it's fantastic, man. I mean, I take one scoop of this longevity stuff, and it's like got 70 supplements in one scoop.
I
And
love that.
so I'm doing stuff for my body and my mind that, I mean, I've always been a big green drink guy. So I love the kale, spinach, lemon, ginger, you name it, little drinks that you can buy. But my housekeeper made it for me for 22 years. I mean, we've been making these things all the time. I mean, so I've always been big on the health thing. I mean, I'm not overly crazy. I still love pizza. I still eat ice cream. I'm not I'll never get to the Brian Johnson level. So if he lives to 150, maybe I'll die at 120. But I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to die at 120 for ice cream, and but it's so refreshing though to meet and to know somebody like you, Mike, because you are the model, man. You're how we're supposed to be at 67 years old. We're supposed to stay vibrant. We're supposed to be healthy. We're supposed to give back. We're supposed to make a difference. We're not supposed to be in our rocking chair, right? I mean, and so I get inspired by you, man, and you're doing an amazing job. Now, speaking of selling a company, you sold a company back in 1997. What was that company, and how did that go? What was that all about?
I'm gonna answer that in less than a minute, but I want to share something with you that I haven't shared with anyone on a podcast. I've shared it with some close friends of when you eat right, you are what you eat, you are what you think, you are what you do. And I commend you, Daniel, on setting that example for your son and for those who know you, because that's so important that we set that example, that people know any food that's saturated fat, trans fats are bad for you. Any artificial flavors, eat green. If it's growing, it's good. A whole list of foods that I send out to my clients. This is what you eat. This is how you create values. So I did something the other day, and I want to say that based on habits, rituals, and routines, based on having patterns in your life and role models in your life, and always reading. Have you ever read the book, by the way, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, the #1 Navy SEAL?
Yeah.
Okay. So he talks about this is probably the toughest guy in the world, at least human being in the world. And
Right.
how he did some things that are just unhuman in terms of moving through pain, uh, running ultra marathons and bleeding and just crazy stuff. And I stretch. He talks about stretching in the end of the book, but how many things he did wrong or would have done over, and that's why what wisdom is. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is you learn from people like him, so you don't go in the same footsteps. But he talked about numbing yourself when you feel pain. That you can numb yourself, and there's a path to that, and how you can steal souls. And what does it look like when you steal a soul? Not in a negative way, but then borrowing energy from other people around you. You can actually steal that energy and make it your own. So I'm talking, and I just want to share, and I'm not saying this to impress anyone that's listening or to you, but at 67 years old, I need, and this is genetics, I need 2 shoulder replacements. I have bone on bone. So that's as high as I can move my arm. I don't have mobility. I have the torn ACL in one knee, torn ACL medial collateral meniscus in the other, but I can still pivot and do everything. Never had an operation, but the shoulders are painful. I'm not kidding you about that. It's real. But I told a buddy of mine who was the VP of Ameriprise, was a past VP of Ameriprise, 5,000 people reported to him. We both work out. We're both getting up there in years. And I told him, I said, I broke a record of mine the other day doing push-ups. And this is our 66th time. And if I do full push-ups on the ground, you've done push-ups before, Daniel, because you're in great shape.
Every day, by the way. I do 60, 70 push-ups every day.
Okay, so Herschel Walker, if you remember him playing football, he was the guy who was super muscular, and his big exercise with push-ups kind of influenced me. And so I do full incline push-ups, because when I go down to the ground, it pinches my shoulder too much. So I'm fully extended, and I'm leaning against my counter doing full incline push-ups. And I told my buddy what I did nonstop. And he said, Mike, listen, I know you're a very honest guy, but I'm calling you out on this. So I got my ring light, which is on now, put my iPhone, and I filmed it in the kitchen, me doing these push-ups. It's on my Instagram. But what I did then is not what you're going to see this week is something even, I think, a bigger feat than that. I ended up doing 260 nonstop.
Wow. 260 push-ups?
Nonstop.
Holy shit.
With two bad shoulders.
That's
but
insane.
What I did last night, right before this call, and that's what I want to share with you, not to impress you. I want you to understand what happened beneath the scenes. I'm pulling back the curtain and say, how did this 67-year-old do this? I was never a professional athlete. I just stayed with it. And if you get 1% better every day, James Clear says this in Atomic Habits, you'll be 37 times better at the end of the year. That's called the compounding effect. It's the aggregation of marginal gain. Get a little bit better. Do a little bit more every day. One more call. One more thing that you don't feel like doing, and do that. And that's where growth and transformation takes place. So last night, I did bicycles. Now that's laying on the ground, flat on the ground. Your hands are behind your head. You're leaning forward in a crunch position, and your legs are going in and out. You've done that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bicycle. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, bicycle. So you're laying flat, elevated a little bit, so you feel the crunch, legs going in and out. I'm going to let you take a shot at this, and I'm not asking you because it's a low number. How many nonstop did I do last night? And this is going to be at my Instagram.
Well, I don't know how many nonstop, but I mean, because you're counting, but I mean, as far as time, what'd you do? Like 10 minutes in a row or something like that? How many minutes?
Like you're a math, you're going to compute it if I tell you that. So
okay,
I ended up doing 1,100.
Oh wow! So
1,000.
That's got to be like 20 or 30 minutes or something like that.
It was like, oh, I do a little fast, like 15 minutes.
15 minutes. That's still a long time, man.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's a long time, man. That's a long time. I mean, I usually every day I usually do at least 10 minutes of just different ab, workout, and just different exercises. And that 10 minutes, man, I'm just done. I mean, when that 10 minutes is over, I'm done. I mean, it's nonstop, so, but you're a freaking rock star, man. Absolutely rock star. No,
I
no,
just wanted to say
I know you're being humble, but we want to know this stuff because when I know that something is possible, then I know I can go do it. That's why I've always been a leader that leads from the front. I'll never ask you to do something that I'm not willing to go do. Right? That's just what I do. I've always been that way. And I recommend anybody that wants to be a leader, you're gonna have to step up to the plate at some point in your life and just do it, right? And just go for it. You're gonna fail. You're gonna screw it up. You're gonna have you're gonna have doubts. You're gonna have anxiety. You're gonna get rejection. You're gonna go through all of that. But at some point, you got to get through it. That's kind of what I keep telling my son is like, look, it's just a numbers game, right? I mean, not everybody's going to say, okay, not everybody's going to jump on your bandwagon, but you gotta do it, right? You got to put in the daily work, regardless of what you're getting paid, because you're not really getting paid a whole lot right now. I mean, this is grunt work right now, right? You're learning, you're mastering your craft, you're reading, you're watching videos, you're trying to set up appointments, you're doing all that stuff that really, you wake up at the end of the week and you're like, shit, how much money did I make? And you didn't make a whole lot of money. But guess what? You didn't have to go invest $1 million into your business either. So this is your blood, sweat, and tears right now that you have to put in, that all of us had to put in at some point to excel, to get to that next level. And so tell me about your business exit. You did have an exit back in 1997. What kind of business was that? And do you feel any regret that you did sell it, right? Because you sold it to like Icon or something like that?
Yeah, I did. And by the way, to your son's point, and I know I circumvented that question before. I'm really interested in answering it. To
That's
your point,
okay.
we've all heard that it takes 10 years to build an overnight success. I think it's the bamboo tree or one of the trees. It takes 10 years. You plant it, you fertilize it, and then all of a sudden it grows to the top. And you wonder, how did that happen? Well, it's everything you put into it over the years. So understand that things take time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's what additional information I give to your audience and the Max, that understand you're investing in yourself in these investments 100% with the right roadmap and hard work, persistence and resilience do pay off. It's not, they do. It's just you have to stick with it. Right. I sold my company. I had a company. Timing is everything. I was building my company, and it was growing. And at the time when I sold it, there was two big companies that were making a lot of acquisitions of copy. I was in the copy machine business of copy machine companies, and I didn't know then what I know now. But fortunately, something in my head said, if you're going to sell your company, if there's a shot at selling your company, this would be the time to do it. I think there's two things that drive decisions and action: avoidance of pain. It's a Freudian theory. Avoidance of pain or gaining of pleasure. Pain being the greater of the two emotions. People do more to avoid pain. I think the pain that I felt in my head, that what would happen if these copier companies are all acquired? They have massive buying power now because they're buying 10,000 machines instead of 1,000. So they have control with the manufacturer. We're buying them for now 30% less than me. I won't be able to compete anymore because they're buying the machines at a much lower price point than I am. And I could end up going out of business. The more I played it over in my head, not to be negative, but to be a driver and saying, that the only thing I should do now is position my company for sale. This is the right time. The timing is now. And I bought real estate at the wrong time. I've made other business decisions at the wrong time and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. This was the thing that I did at the right time with the right company. And biggest sale I ever made. It was a multi-million-dollar sale. And I can tell you this, that the level and depth, and I coach on enterprise selling. So the amount of time, effort, and energy that you put into this with analyzing strategy, I call it ACE, ASE, analyze, strategize, and execute. I spent tons of time. It's like I said, multi-million-dollar sale to make sure that I knew my competitors. I knew what they wanted to buy, why they wanted to buy it, what my unique selling proposition was. There's no stone left unturned. It was my Super Bowl. It was my time to be in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to win or lose. And Imagine the preparation that teams put in to win a Super Bowl or a World Series or an NBA championship, since that's what we're talking about now. Imagine the time they look at analyzing, watching film, strategizing. What are all the strategies? What adjustments they make throughout the game with their strategies? So that, like, you're going to make tons of adjustments. And remind me to tell you about the three things throughout the day where you assess and adjust. But that was critical. And then I ended up selling my company. They never bought a company as small as mine directly. They bought it through other companies that they acquired. So a multi-billion-dollar company bought my little company, and as a result, I probably got $1 million, maybe $1.5 million more than I should have, because they bought me directly and because I created legitimately value with the territory that I owned. I was the brand and I was the company, and that I owned my territory. And that was because of enterprise sales and what I did. But that was, I look back on that. I still have the thing up with me and my attorney holding the stocks. I sold it for stocks and then eventually cashed out on the stock. But it was a great moment to build it from a 650 square foot apartment where for many years I was just grinding it out, and then eventually being able to cash in and have an exit where I made millions. And there was great lessons along the way there. It was a great moment.
Great experience, man. What a fun thing to think back on, and what a great accomplishment to, really know that you built something. I mean, that's what I tell my guys all the time. I mean, do this because you're trying to build equity. You're trying to create something. You're trying to build something for your future. Because that allowed you to be able to be free, like you having that exit put you in a situation where you could have your wealth on the beach if you wanted it to, if you wanted to, and to create that lifestyle that you wanted. And you were free at that time. Now, of course, you kept working, you still do other things, and you're trying to, you're always creating and building, but at least you knew your family was safe, man. You put on your oxygen mask first. You took care of your family, put your family in a good, solid situation where you didn't have to be stressed about money, or you didn't have to worry so much about certain things. And so that's really, really impressive. Hey, I'm kind of curious, Mike. The state of the world right now is a little bit different. Obviously, politically, the political climate is a little bit crazy. And especially for young business owners and entrepreneurs, regulations and taxes and all these different things. I mean, you live in a pretty good tax state, but what's your thoughts about what's going on with the economy, with politics? What do you think is going to happen in November, man?
Yeah, interesting you say that. I don't really pay a lot of attention to it.
Okay.
It's interesting because I say, we only have so many hours in the day, and where am I going to really steer? If I really felt those things were going to affect me, if I truly believed they were going to affect me and affect me more, Daniel, than other things, I have to make a decision. If I spend an hour doing that, looking at that and saying, what influence do I have over that? Or what will that allow me to, if I think this is what's going to happen politically, what can I do to prepare ahead of time to be successful during this downturn, upturn, neutral time, whatever it is? I believe you have to know your environment. I believe that, Wayne Gretzky, arguably one of the greatest hockey players of all time, when asked, what were some of the things that made you great, he said, I didn't skate to where the puck was at. I skated to where the puck was going. So forward thinking is always critical to put yourself in a position that when this changes, that's why AI, I jumped on right away. I didn't know how big it would be, but I wanted to at least prepare myself with that. I have so much investment that I make in my own personal and professional career to help others do it in their career, that unless I can deliver next level, if they don't have time to do it, if a business executive, a salesperson, if they're focused on their business, their craft, I have to bring things from the outside into them that they don't know about that will help accelerate or maximize their success. And that's part of my role, besides accountability and encouragement and support.
I mean, I guess maybe the question, if maybe I'll pose it like this. I mean, do you think that, because you've been around, I mean, again, you've been in business for 50 years, man. So it's like, let's be honest, man. I mean, does a president or does a governor or does a whoever, could they have an effect on your business or the way that you create your business or even your financial future? I mean, do their roles, I mean, should we be involved in the political process or should we not? Should we just stay out of it? Who cares what happens, man? Let's just go build our businesses. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Or do we become one of those people that say, hey, look, maybe I should be outspoken so that we can change certain politicians that are harming our environment and harming our cities and harming our states and ultimately our country. I mean, I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, great. Put it this way. There is 1,001 causes that are all worthwhile. And I encourage anyone that feels it in their heart to say, I want to do something to leave the world better than I found it. I'm not for that a little bit. I'm all for that. I have a speech called Make a Difference, Leave a Legacy, how to live a right side up life in an upside down world. It's exactly what you're talking about, leading with love, kindness, generosity, gratitude, all those things that are not game changing, but life changing. And I can't tell you, Daniel, and those that are listening, that if you have a passion based on either a personal experience that someone you have has been, I just, to one of my clients, one of their employees' granddaughters was sex trafficked. And there's a big thing with sex trafficking. I mean, you pick your cause. I have a little girl, her picture right here, like a daughter of me, died of brain tumor, cancer. So there is a million causes. If you're a dog lover, I mean, there's a million things, the environment. I encourage everyone to please do something to make a difference, to lend your voice, to lend your actions to making an impact, to making it better. Whatever is in your heart that you want to do that. I encourage you that. I think it's part of our responsibility to leave the world better than we found it. So that will answer that part of the question. The political parts of the question is another story. I think that with the amount of time that we have, and we all have the same amount of time, that we're working and doing what we need to do to make a difference, I think we have to make up our mind as to, most importantly, what I always say is what is the highest and best use of your time? What determines that ultimately and infinitely are your values. So do you have a core set of values? So if you don't, as Barkowski said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Who are you and who do you want to become? Are you living out your values? My mentor and friend Zig Ziglar, God rest his soul, said this: two types of people in the world, wandering generalities and meaningful specifics. A wandering generality lists the tide of life, take it where it may. A meaningful specific knows who they are, what they want to be, where they're going, why they're going there, how they're going there, when they're going there, and they're in control as best they can with a plan, an action plan. And they make adjustments and they assess and adjust along the way. So I don't spend time with, I'll vote who I believe. I watch as much as I feel I need to watch to make the best informed decision I can make that I believe will be in the best interest of my family, myself, and the country. And other than that, I don't pay a lot of attention to it, or I don't pay a lot of time because there's other things that I think I can make a bigger impact in the world, right, investing my time in that.
Right. Makes total sense, man. I 100% get where you're coming from, man. You've been on stage thousands of times, man. You've been in front of people thousands of times. I mean, you have impacted tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people since you've been, doing what you're doing. Was there ever a moment? I mean, did you ever, like, if you were to think back, maybe from the beginning or at any stage during those times, I mean, did you ever have a funny moment, man? Did you ever screw up really bad? Do you have like one of those keynote speeches that you screwed it up or it just didn't go as well as you thought it would go, or maybe a funny moment? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother loops and blunders. That's a whole TV show that we could do, another podcast show. I'll tell you one I can't tell. because I can say I brought a volunteer up, and be careful if you're a speaker that the volunteer, I did this after like kind of a happy hour that they had, and the volunteer was drunk and he said some lewd things in the microphone, and it
Wow.
was and something you just don't prepare for. But I'll tell you the funniest thing that ever happened to me, and this is true. And so I'm in Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm giving three of the same speeches to three different audiences throughout the day. The company was called A Million Miles of Motivation, and they sell a subscription program to companies that they can come in and listen to speakers, different speakers throughout the month. And that was the subscription model. And I was one of the speakers. And the first group, I came in the morning, early afternoon, late afternoon. So two really unique things happened during this. Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm a city boy. I'm from New Jersey originally, Atlantic City, New Jersey. You can probably tell the New Jersey in my voice, not Florida. So I'm doing the morning speech, and I'm not connecting with the audience. And as a speaker, you look out and you see, are you connecting? They're not responding. I'm pretty interactive. You can tell I don't talk in a monotone voice ever. So I'm always animated. And I didn't back then. I do magic now up on stage, but I wasn't doing it then. But I'm interactive. I bring people up, have people say things. None of that was happening. So I leave after that first speech and I go out the double doors on my way to the bathroom. Well, speakers wear hands-free lavalier, or they wear a countryman mic, which is the mic that goes down like this. And what I'm saying is, you wear something, you're not holding a mic, and you have a little, control pack on your waist, and you turn the mic on or off, or they could do it at the AV. The AV team could do it. Well, there's stories about speakers going to the bathroom, forgetting that they were live. No, mine is worse. Mine is worse. I'm going to the bathroom. I leave the double doors. My mic is live, and I'm halfway between the auditorium where I spoke and the bathroom. And a person leaving the bathroom approaches me, and he says to me, "How did it go?" And I said, "Funny." I said, "Funny you should ask. I'm ready to call 911, have them come out and resuscitate this audience. I think they're all dead." And as clearly as you can hear me now, that's how clearly you could hear me they could hear me in the auditorium.
Oh
And
my God.
there was a gasp. Well, 2 seconds later, I see the woman who was the assistant to the president. I see the doors, two double doors, flail open, spring open, her arms flailing in the air, saying, "You're live, you're live." And I stood there, I didn't move. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, it just goes to show you, if you say anything with enough passion and conviction, people will believe you. You've been a great audience. Give yourselves a round of applause." And you can hear a click, sign,
And then everybody out in the other room was clapping for you.
and so they all heard me, and they had a sigh of relief. And what's great is I killed two birds with one stone. Not only did I save myself, but also didn't have to go to the bathroom anymore because I just did.
Oh my God. That is hilarious, Mike. Oh my God. That's like the worst fear though. When you have that, you got the mic on and then you got to go use the rest. I mean, that's like, that everybody's going to listen. So, wow, that's pretty funny stuff.
True
Hey,
story.
Mike, as we kind of wrap up, man, I really, this has been so much fun. We could do at least 3 or 4 more hours for sure. I want you though to kind of share with us how our audience can get a hold of you. Like how can we support you? How can we help you? Where can we find you? How can we connect with you? So you're up, my friend.
Well, thank you for that. First of all, it was great getting on this show with you, Daniel. Thank you for having me. Thank you for making me feel so comfortable on the show and for this great exchange. And it's been wonderful. And I hope something of real value to you, to Max, and also to all your listeners. If you want to get in touch with me, Michael Altshuler, Altshuler. So I'm all over social media, Instagram, LinkedIn. Connect with me. I'll be happy to connect with you. YouTube channel, Twitter, Facebook. And those are probably the main channels. And, I do coaching, one-on-one coaching. I do 15-minute morning huddles, just like you see in the NBA or the NFL. They have huddles. And the huddles are meant to be a spark to get everyone consistently performing at the highest level. So these 15-minute huddles go over key personal and professional development strategies, techniques, and tips on how to stay in the game and elevate your game, typically delivered to companies for their sales teams or their employees once or twice a week. And lastly, I do keynotes, anywhere from a half hour to 3 hours or all-day programs for companies that are having a conference and want to bring a speaker, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. I do finish, if I may, I want to share with you, I like to finish podcasts and anything with a poem. There was a woman that I met 17 years ago now. Her name's Lynn Gidrow. Of thousands of people that have been in my audience, I remember Lynn because after this Make a Difference, Leave a Legacy speech, she comes up to me, and we always look forward, Daniel, you and me, we look forward to people coming up, not saying you were great, but saying, I needed to hear your message. You touched me. I needed to hear this today. And she said that. And I said, I'm so glad it hit the mark and it resonated with you. And I wish you the very best. And that was that. We went our separate ways. 2 weeks later, I get an email from Lynn Gidrow. And she said, sadly, I'm writing you after my grandmother passed away a couple of weeks ago, right after your speech. And at the funeral, they read a poem. And the poem, interestingly enough, touched my heart in a similar way that your speech touched my heart. And I thought of you, and I said, I bet Mike would love this poem. So I've attached it to this email, and I wish you the very best. God bless, Lynn Gidrow. And I read the poem, and I have to tell you, Daniel, it was the most moving poem I ever read. Now, I have to tell you, I give speeches on peak performance, just crush it, get out there, motivational and inspirational, and key strategies, tactics, techniques on how to advance and improve your life and business. And I have one on enterprise sales, and one on communication, and one on values of love and giving, the Make a Difference speech. And I said, I'm going to learn, memorize this poem, and I don't care what speech it is, this is what I'm going to leave people with, because I always want everyone to remember, above all else, we're human beings before we're salespeople, before we're anything else. Part of the human race that we need to see who we are and how we can make a difference. So I'm going to end this. I'll give you the final word, but my final word will be this poem that Lynn Gidrow gave me that was read at her mother's funeral, called The Dash by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noticed that first came her date of birth and spoke the second date with tears. But he said that what mattered most of all was that dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth. And now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we have, the car, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before, if we could treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that it's a special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to rehash, will you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash?
Beautiful, 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 man. Thank you for that, Mike. I really appreciate it. It means more than you even know. I just lost somebody really close to me, and her name is Pati Fuentes. She was actually my housekeeper for 20 plus years, and we just lost her this last week. And so I want to dedicate this podcast to Pati Fuentes, and may God rest, her soul. But what an amazing, because, it's just another reminder that we don't know when it's our time. We don't know when we're at our end. It doesn't matter how long we think we're going to live. It could happen. God wants to take you, God's going to take you. It's just the way it is. And so I just believe that, when the way we spend our life and how we spend our life is so important. And what you're doing is you're making a massive impact on a lot of lives, Mike. What a great man you are, and it's a privilege to know you. It's a privilege to talk with you, and for everybody watching, make sure that you go reach out to Mike, send him a message on Instagram, and say, "What's up, Mike? I saw you on Wealth on the Beach podcast with Daniel Alonso," and tell him hello, and just say hello. Just make an introduction, make a new friend, man. And with that said, everybody, continue to dream bigger than ever, get after it, but most importantly, do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.